Can you imagine for a moment that the very family you were born into, the one that perhaps caused you the most pain, confusion, or heartache, was chosen by you? Not by accident or cosmic punishment, but as a deliberate, purposeful act of creation. What if I told you that your soul, with infinite wisdom and foresight, placed you exactly where you needed to be, not to suffer, but to awaken? You see, Neville Goddard taught us a profound truth. We are the operant power in our reality, and nothing is arbitrary. He said, "Man moves in a world that is nothing more or less than his imagination pushed out." This means that every aspect of your life, including the family you were born into, is not just happening to you, it's happening through you. And that realization changes everything. But let's be honest, toxic families don't feel like a gift, do they? They feel like a storm you can't escape, a weight you can't lift. I know that pain. I've felt it too. And yet, there's a reason behind it. A purpose so profound that once you see it, you'll never look at your family or yourself the same way again. Toxic families, as painful as they are the perfect training ground for the chosen ones. But what does that mean? And why you? Let's dive deep into the mystery together. Neville often spoke about the journey of the soul as a great awakening, a movement from ignorance to enlightenment. He described it as a process of dying to the old self and being reborn as something entirely new. And what better catalyst for this transformation than the crucible of a toxic family? Like fire forging steel, the challenges you faced growing up were designed to shape you, to burn away illusions, and to prepare you for something far greater. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when I couldn't understand why I was born into the family I had. On the surface, everything looked fine, but underneath, it was a battlefield of unspoken resentments, sharp words, and emotional wounds that ran so deep they felt like they were etched into my DNA. I carried that pain like a shadow, always wondering, why me? Why was I placed in an environment that seemed determined to break me? But then I stumbled upon Neville's teachings, and one night, as I was reading his words, something shifted. Neville wrote, "You rise from the world of death by a series of mental transformations." It hit me like a revelation. My family wasn't my prison, it was my initiation. Think about it. How do you grow stronger without resistance? How do you develop compassion without witnessing pain? How do you learn to create your own reality if you're never forced to rise above someone else's? Toxic families are the ultimate test for chosen ones because they force you to confront the very things that hold you back: fear, doubt, resentment, and the belief that you are powerless. But here's the deeper truth. Your family isn't just a test, it's a mirror. Neville often said that the external world reflects our internal state. The dysfunction you see in your family, it's showing you something about yourself. And I know that's hard to hear. It was hard for me too. But it's also the key to your liberation. Let me ask you, when you look at your family, what do you see? Is it anger, manipulation, control? Now, take a deep breath and ask yourself, where do those same energies live inside you? Because the truth is, you can't change what you refuse to face. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, placed you in a family that would force you to face it head on. Neville described this process as revision. He taught that by revisiting and reimagining the past, we can transform its meaning and, in doing so, change its impact on our present. This is where the gift of a toxic family reveals itself, because every wound, every scar, every painful memory is an opportunity to rewrite your story. For years, I carried a memory of a moment when someone in my family said something that shattered my confidence. I replayed it in my mind over and over, letting it define me. But one night, inspired by Neville, I sat in the silence and imagined that moment differently. I saw the words coming from a place of pain, not malice. I imagined myself standing tall, unshaken, and as I did, something miraculous happened. The memory lost its power over me. I felt free for the first time in years. This is the power you have as a chosen one. You're not here to repeat the cycles of your family. You're here to break them. To heal not just yourself, but the generations that came before you and those that will come after. But here's the paradox. To break a cycle, you have to experience it. You can't heal what you don't understand, and so your soul chose to step into the storm, not to drown, but to learn how to calm the waters. Neville's teachings remind us that we are creators, not victims. He often spoke about the concept of states, different levels of consciousness that we can enter at will. Toxic families pull us into low states, anger, fear, despair. But as chosen ones, we have the power to rise above them. The question is, how? The first step is awareness. Look at your family with new eyes. See their pain, their patterns, their struggles, not as a reflection of your worth, but as a window into their own unhealed wounds. Neville said, "You can never transcend what you do not understand." This means that your job is not to fight your family or to fix them. Your job is to understand, to forgive, and to heal yourself. But forgiveness doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It doesn't mean pretending the pain didn't happen. It means releasing the hold that pain has on you. It means saying, "I will no longer allow your actions to define me." And in doing so, you free yourself to step into the fullness of who you are. So let me ask you again, what if your family wasn't a curse but a gift? What if their dysfunction was the soil in which your soul could grow? What if every wound they inflicted was an invitation for you to remember your power? Let me share something Neville Goddard taught about pain and transformation, a concept so profound it still resonates deeply. He said, "Deny it if you will. It still remains a fact that whatever is impressed on your subconscious mind is expressed. The pain your family has caused you, the chaos you endured, it was imprinted in your subconscious." But Neville also taught us the power to rewrite that script, to take what has been impressed and transform it into something entirely new. This is the alchemy of the chosen ones. We take the darkness we are born into and turn it into light. But it begins with one critical realization. Your family's toxicity is not about you. Their anger, their manipulation, their neglect, these are reflections of their own wounds, not your worth. And yet, you absorbed it, didn't you? You took on their pain as if it were your own, and for years it shaped how you saw yourself. I know what that feels like. I remember the weight of carrying someone else's anger, the sting of their words that seemed designed to cut me down. But then I realized something. Neville said, "Man is all imagination. Therefore, man must be where he is in imagination." If I could imagine myself as free, as loved, as whole, then I could become that, regardless of my family's actions. That realization was like a crack of light in a very dark room. Think about this. Every limitation imposed on you by your family is an opportunity to transcend it. Did they make you feel small? Then you are here to realize your true magnificence. Did they make you feel unworthy? Then your journey is to remember your inherent value. This is the gift wrapped in the pain, the hidden treasure that only reveals itself when you're willing to dig deep. Neville often spoke about revision, not just as a tool to heal the past, but as a bridge to a new future. He taught that by imagining a different reality, one where you are loved, supported, and free, you impress that state upon your subconscious, and it must manifest. Imagine just for a moment that your family's dysfunction was not the defining feature of your story, but the catalyst for your transformation. What would that look like? How would that feel? Let me tell you another story. There was a time when I felt trapped in a cycle of trying to prove myself to my family. I thought if I could be good enough, successful enough, they would see my worth. But the more I tried, the more I felt unseen. It wasn't until I applied Neville's teachings that I understood why. He said, "Change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live." My family couldn't see my worth because I didn't see it myself. The moment I began to imagine myself as worthy, without needing their validation, everything shifted. Forgiveness isn't just an act, it's a state of being. It's the realization that holding on to resentment binds you to the very pain you're trying to escape. When you forgive, you're not excusing the harm done to you. You're reclaiming your energy from it. You're saying, "I refuse to let this define me any longer." Neville Goddard's teachings on imagination and consciousness offer a powerful framework for forgiveness. He often said that imagination creates reality, and when we hold on to anger or resentment, we're imagining ourselves as victims, locked in the same cycle of pain. But when we imagine ourselves as free, as healed, as whole, we begin to manifest that reality. Forgiveness then becomes the ultimate act of self-empowerment. Let me share another story. I remember a moment when the weight of my family's toxicity felt unbearable. The criticism, the judgments, the subtle ways they made me feel like I wasn't enough. It all built up until I felt suffocated by it. But then, one evening, I sat alone with Neville's words echoing in my mind. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. I closed my eyes and imagined the family dynamic I wanted. I saw love where there had been anger, understanding where there had been judgment, and most importantly, I imagined myself standing tall, unshaken by their actions. I imagined myself as free. I repeated this practice night after night, and over time something miraculous happened. Not in them, but in me. I no longer reacted to their toxicity. It no longer had power over me. And as I changed, the dynamic around me began to shift. This is the gift of Neville's teachings. He shows us that we don't have to wait for external circumstances to change. We don't need anyone else to validate us, apologize, or love us the way we deserve. All of that begins within. The moment we imagine a new reality and feel it as true, the universe has no choice but to align with it. But let's go deeper. Toxic families don't just wound us, they reflect us. Every hurtful word, every painful interaction is a mirror, showing us the parts of ourselves we've been unwilling to face. Neville taught that the world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. If your family's actions trigger feelings of unworthiness or anger, it's an invitation to look within and ask, where am I holding on to these same energies? This is where the true work begins. It's not enough to identify the patterns. You must rewrite them. Neville's technique of revision is a powerful tool for this. Imagine a specific moment of pain from your past, a memory that still lingers. Instead of replaying it as it happened, rewrite it in your mind. See it unfolding differently. Feel the emotions you wish you had felt: love, support, validation. As you do this, you're not just healing the memory, you're transforming its impact on your subconscious. And as your inner world changes, your outer world must follow. Let me ask you, what memories from your family still haunt you? What stories have you been carrying that no longer serve you? Because the truth is, you don't have to carry them anymore. You have the power to release them, to rewrite them, to transform them into stepping stones on your path to awakening. But make no mistake, this journey isn't easy. Being born into a toxic family is one of the hardest paths a soul can choose. It requires immense strength, resilience, and courage. It requires you to face the darkness within yourself and to choose light again and again, even when it feels impossible. Neville often spoke about persistence, the unwavering commitment to hold on to a vision until it becomes reality. He said, "You must feel yourself into the state of your fulfilled desire until your feeling becomes its nature." This is the path of the chosen ones. It's not about fighting the darkness. It's about embodying the light so fully that the darkness has no choice but to dissipate. So, let me ask you again, what would it feel like to embody that light? To walk into a room and radiate so much love, so much peace, that even the most toxic energies can't touch you? What would it feel like to know, with every fiber of your being, that you are enough, that you've always been enough? This is your destiny as a chosen one, to rise above the patterns of your family, to heal not just for yourself, but for the generations that came before you and those that will come after, to transform the pain you were born into a purpose so powerful that it changes everything. Neville Goddard often spoke about states of consciousness as levels we ascend through. He believed that as we rise in consciousness, we bring others with us, even if they don't realize it. When you heal, when you forgive, when you embody the highest version of yourself, you become a beacon of light for your entire lineage. Your family may never say it out loud, but your transformation inspires them in ways you can't even imagine. But here's the thing, you don't have to wait for their acknowledgement. You don't have to wait for their love or approval. Because the moment you realize that everything you've been searching for is already within you, you set yourself free. Freedom is not something your family can give you. It's something you claim for yourself. Neville Goddard often emphasized that freedom begins in the mind. He said, "Man is free to imagine whatever he desires. This freedom cannot be taken from him." And this is the secret that chosen ones must embrace. No matter how toxic your family may be, no matter how deeply their actions have hurt you, they can never take away your power to create a new reality. Imagine, just for a moment, stepping outside the role your family has cast you in. Maybe they saw you as the scapegoat, the fixer, or the one who never measures up. What if you chose right now to release those labels? What if you decided to rewrite your role entirely? Neville would call this assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In other words, you step into the identity of who you truly are, not who they told you to be. Let me share something personal. There was a time when I believed I had to fix everything. If there was conflict in my family, I would step in. If someone was hurting, I would take on their pain as my own. I thought that was my role, my responsibility. But the more I tried to fix them, the more broken I felt. It wasn't until I came across Neville's teachings that I understood why. He said, "You can never change the reflection until you change the image." I was trying to change the reflection, my family, without first changing myself. So I began to imagine a new version of me, one who was whole, who didn't need to carry the weight of others' pain. I imagined myself as free, as powerful, as unshaken by the chaos around me. And slowly, that image became my reality. My family didn't change overnight, but I did. And because I changed, the dynamic between us shifted in ways I never thought possible. This is what it means to be a chosen one. It's not about fixing your family. It's about fixing the image of yourself that you carry within. When you do that, everything else begins to fall into place. Neville taught us that the world is nothing more than a projection of our inner state. If you see yourself as a victim, the world will reflect that back to you. But if you see yourself as a creator, as someone who has the power to rise above any circumstance, the world will mirror that truth instead. But let's address the deeper question: why you? Why were you born into a family that feels so broken, so toxic? Neville would say that you were chosen because you are capable, because within you lies the strength to not only survive but to transcend. And this is where the gift of a toxic family becomes clear. It's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity. an opportunity to break the cycle, to heal generational wounds, and to become the light that guides others out of the darkness. Think about it. Your family's dysfunction didn't start with you. It's the result of generations of unhealed trauma, unspoken truths, and unresolved pain. And for generations, those patterns were passed down, unnoticed, unchallenged, until you, with your awareness, your strength, and your willingness to face the darkness, you are the one who was chosen to break the chain. Neville taught that imagination is the tool through which we create reality, but it's also the tool through which we heal. By revising the past, by imagining a new future, you're not just changing your own life, you're changing the entire trajectory of your lineage. You're healing wounds that your ancestors couldn't, and you're creating a new foundation for those who come after you. But here's the paradox. To break a cycle, you have to experience it. You can't heal what you don't understand. And so, your soul chose to step into the storm, not to drown, but to learn how to navigate the waves. It's through this experience that you gain the wisdom, the strength, and the compassion needed to rise above. So, let me ask you, what patterns in your family are you here to break? What stories have been passed down that no longer serve you? Maybe it's the belief that love has to be earned, or the pattern of suppressing emotions to keep the peace, or the cycle of anger and blame that has been handed down like an heirloom. Whatever it is, know this: you have the power to end it. Not through force or resistance, but through transformation. Neville often spoke about love as the ultimate creative force. He said, "Love is our birthright. Love is the fundamental necessity of our life." When you choose love, love for yourself, love for your family despite their flaws, you begin to rewrite the script. And that love, when paired with imagination, becomes unstoppable. Let me tell you another story. There was a moment when I was at a breaking point with my family. The arguments, the misunderstandings, the constant tension. It felt like too much. But instead of reacting, I paused. I closed my eyes and imagined the version of my family I wanted to see. I saw us laughing together, supporting one another, and healing old wounds. I didn't just think about it, I felt it. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in them, but in me. I realized that I didn't need their validation to feel whole. I didn't need their approval to love myself. And as I stepped into that realization, the energy between us began to change. This is the path of the chosen ones. It's not about waiting for your family to change. It's about becoming the change you wish to see. It's about stepping into your power as a creator, as someone who can rise above any circumstance and create a life of purpose and freedom. But let's be clear, this journey isn't easy. There will be moments when the weight of your family's toxicity feels unbearable. There will be days when you question whether you're strong enough to break the cycle. And in those moments, I want you to remember this. You were chosen for this. Not because it's easy, but because you are capable. Not because you deserve to suffer, but because you are here to transform suffering into strength. And that transformation is your gift, not just to yourself, but to the world. Neville Goddard often said, "You are the operant power," meaning that you are the one who decides what reality you experience. The family you were born into, the pain you've endured, and the patterns you've faced were all placed before you to awaken this truth within you. You hold the power to rewrite your story, to heal your wounds, and to step into a reality that reflects your highest potential. Now, let's talk about what it means to rise above. It doesn't mean ignoring the pain or pretending it didn't happen. It means facing it with courage, understanding it with compassion, and releasing it with love. It means recognizing that your family's actions, as hurtful as they may have been, were not about you. They were about their own unhealed wounds. And while you cannot change their past or their pain, you can change how you carry it. Neville taught that forgiveness is not about excusing others, but about liberating yourself. When you forgive, you are not saying that what happened was okay. You are saying that it no longer has the power to define you. You are reclaiming the energy that was trapped in anger, resentment, and bitterness, and using it to fuel your transformation. And here's the most beautiful part. As you heal, you become a light in the darkness. Your transformation creates a ripple effect that touches everyone around you, even if they don't realize it. Your family may never acknowledge the work you've done, but their souls will feel it. Your healing paves the way for them to begin their own journey, whether in this lifetime or another. Let me leave you with this. You were not born into your family by accident. You were placed there because you have the strength, the wisdom, and the courage to rise above. You were placed there to break cycles, to heal wounds, and to awaken to your true power. And as you step into this role, you are not only transforming your own life, you are transforming the lives of countless others who will be inspired by your light. So, chosen one, the question now is not why you were born into a toxic family. The question is, what will you do with the gift you've been given? How will you use this pain to fuel your awakening? How will you turn this darkness into light, this suffering into purpose? The answers to these questions will define your journey. And let me remind you, as Neville Goddard always said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel the freedom, the peace, and the love that is already within you. Feel it as if it's already true, and watch as your reality begins to transform. This is your moment. This is your awakening. This is your gift.